Welcome. Good morning. Good morning. Set up outside today. We'll see how we go. It's very unpredictable. So, can you hear me okay on? Yeah, good. Good job. All right. Well, this is our on-demand, Cynthia on-demand. And then we'll be going into our holistic mystic mastermind inner circle. So I did speak to somebody yesterday, not mentioning any names, and I did say that we would be doing a particular breath and moving of energy circulation. But then I thought or remembered, oh, didn't I say to remind me that we were going to do something? Now, I can't remember what I said to remind me to do so. If you don't remember, then that's fine. But all right, so what are we doing? What are we doing? Well, let's start with, this is the on-demand portion, so people will be coming and going. We've got the restream up, and let me see. And I just want to see if I can get it up so I can see your comments. Oh, there we are. All right, so yes, I've got the restream up. So if you're watching from other platforms, you can pop it in the chat and I will still be able to see whether you're on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. So what are we talking about today? There was a few things that came up. First of all, have you been watching Spirit Whisperer? We're in day 2. Have you been watching? I know that those of you on the Zoom, you've let me know, so that's good. Did you finish day 1? Yeah. Okay. All right. So has anyone watched Tomorrowland, which was the movie that was suggested? All right. It's a Disney movie, George Clooney, and I was going to tell you about it, but I don't know if I if I want to ruin it for you. But we're talking about bridging different realities. And when I thought about that movie in hindsight, biolocation's been in my field. That doesn't quite make sense. In my remembrance, right? Because, you know, I used to do research on telepathy and remote viewing. And I ended up going into biolocation and looking at what was actually happening to me and how to explain it and then how to research it. So I was writing up a research paper so that I could go to study the science of biolocation. Now, biolocation, in case you didn't know, you might be going, what on earth is she talking about? Lately, it's been coming up over and over because when, you know, bear with me with the names of things this morning because I can feel I'm not fully online. I've just come out of my yoga and whatnot. I have 3 drinks. I have my tea, I have my protein shake, and I have my Water. There you go. This is me this morning. I haven't had any food yet. But I'm with you. You're sustaining me. All right, so bilocation is where you are in more than one place at the same time. And so there's different ways of understanding it or talking about it, or even how other people talk about it. I'm just going on, you know, what I've experienced directly, and I haven't experienced everything. So I can't talk about all the other bits and pieces. But it's when it does happen, it would make me feel sick, right? When I came back, and we were having a discussion yesterday. So I'm going to share a bit about that, about these different realities and different consciousnesses, right? And that alone might have some of you going, what on earth is she talking about? Well, this is, you know, the mysticism of it all. This is my phenomena, right? How I experience the world. And it may not be yours, and that's okay. It may be yours, but yours is slightly different, and that's okay. Everyone's welcome at my table, right? We're not here to judge each other. We're not here to better up or better down, whatever, however, up, down, round, in, out, upside down, right? This is about looking at the human experience and the full potential of a human being. And just because you haven't experienced it or you don't know about it does not mean it doesn't exist, right? So I'm going to talk as a mystic today, meaning it's going to be circular, because when I see something, I see how everything else fits. So bear with me just for a moment. So bilocation. So being in more realities than your relative reality at the same time. So there's a couple of shows that, so Tomorrowland is one of them, where there's a bridge between two realities. And they use like a pendant. So when you pick up the pendant, you are still in your reality, but what you're seeing is a whole different reality, right? It's this bridging. And I'm not going to ruin it for you, but it is something to contemplate if you're into or have experienced coming in and out of different consciousnesses or different levels of consciousness, let's say it that way. The other one that I was watching is a series, I think it's an older series called Dark Matter. Has anyone seen Dark Matter? Where you go into the box based on Schrodinger's cat. This is what we were talking about last week. Do you remember, Rebel? Schrodinger's cat? Yeah, okay. So this relates. And the guy, the scientist, ended up building this box with multiple doors to every reality possible that you also exist in some way. So every possibility or potentiality for you exists at the same time, and you can access it through this big box. So anyway, the series is called Dark Matter. You can go and have a look at it if you want. But when I was watching it, you know, I was saying, you know, I talk about my experiences if I'm watching it with somebody who doesn't quite understand what's going on. So, you know, afterwards I might say something about that. And so when you go in this box, and when you're going through one of the doors, because you go in they have to turn off part of your brain, or they take a drug, right, to turn off part of your brain so that you can access the multiple doorways. Okay, so when you're in the box, they give you this shot. It's 3 minutes. You wake up, and then there's infinite doorway, that corridor of infinite doorways. Get the picture? It might be a bit confused, but anyway, I think it's on Netflix, so go and have a look if you're interested. It gets very bizarre, but it is very bizarre. So I've told you about some of my drawings and artwork, that over time I would draw aspects of what I see or whatever I'm experiencing, for me, it's my way of integrating. So my little human brain can, and integrating all the minds together, so not to go mad. Right? Because you feel like, it's like, the best way to describe it is when you're pushing the boundaries of your potential, of your existence, so to speak, in this relative reality, it's like it's hard to describe. You're feeling the boundary of this life, and it's sort of building in pressure, like you're just going to explode, right? It's so much information, so much data, so much information, because you're experiencing multiple aspects of self beyond this physical self. Right? Yeah. Okay. So it's not something we can just do a 15-minute chat about, right? It's lifetimes of study. And I actually was saying yesterday to one of you that on my refrigerator, I write a lot of stuff on my refrigerator as my reminder, and it is the telepathy and remote viewing research. I want to add to that and continue that. So when I work out that, I'll invite some of you that feel called to be part of that. And it is fun. But anyway, I'll tell you about that another day, because I also have to stay focused on the job at hand. Right? But I listen, and when something comes in and I'm shown, okay, you need to go back to this and bring this back in, I go, all right, and I'll write it somewhere. And then I see if other people, and it just comes up in mood, all the synchronicities, and I listen, and it just keeps coming around. So I interview people, and they start talking about these bridges of realities, or whatnot. So it's still sitting there because I have other things that I'm working on, and we'll see how that manifests. However, how does this all link to what I came in with? So I'm going to pull the pieces together, because I know I just threw a whole bunch of dominoes at you, or jigsaw puzzle pieces at you, and expecting you to just put them together and have a pretty picture like that. Now, some of you will, and some of you won't. Oh my goodness, my computer's about to. So I'm going to give you something to contemplate. You know why I didn't bring my charger out? Because I thought it had enough charge that once it starts going red, it means we have to go, so I don't go over time, right? But it obviously wasn't charged fully. So I want you to contemplate a couple of things, and I'm going to go and get my charger. The possibility of you existing in infinite other realities at the same time. So, you know, when we talk about different dimensions, I don't often talk about that anymore, right? Like 5D, 3D, you know, 9D, whatever. Because when things start, the language of things start to get bastardized, over talked and incorrectly talked about, I stop talking about it. I'll bring other language in because it gets corrupted, right? So 5D is one of those. 3D, 4D, 5D, they're all sort of slightly, you know, corrupted. So the way, you know, we may read about it or talk about it or whatnot. But you could consider and even contemplate if this has happened for you on a real basic level. You may have your beautiful journal, and you put it down somewhere, and you go off, and you know there's one place you put your journal every time. For the life of you, you cannot find it. And then when you stop and align, connect, it's right there where you put it. Right? So what state are you in to not be able to see what's right in front of you? Or what dimension of consciousness are you in? You know, so that's a simplistic version of that. Contemplate that for a moment. I'm going to come back and just see how often that's happened to you, or you know something, like really know something. This is not forgetting. You really know something and you can feel that you know it. It's the most bizarre feeling. So this is why I want you to have a little, yeah. I'll read your comments in a moment. I'll come back and read those comments because I want to address some of that too. And you cannot bring it into this reality. Contemplate that. I'm just going to grab my charger. All right. Quick as a flash. See, I was trying to support my my expansive human with having little tricks to make me stay on around time. All right, so I'm just checking. So on Insta, it's saying I've already met a few of my doppelgangers. If you've met, what do you mean by met? Because if you meet them, yeah, anyway, I guess that's a whole nother story if you meet them, right? So one of the new ones just popped up on a job I used to do, and a friend messaged me and was like, are you working today? Yeah, I've had that too. I've had that. I used to think, because, you know, I'm a skeptic, believe it or not, I literally am a skeptic. If I don't experience it directly or have some understanding, then when you tell me what's going on, I'm like, let's see how, you know, right? So that's why I research so much, and I'm my lifelong science experiment. And the beauty of that, in a way, so, you know, the upside of that, there are some downsides, but the upside of that is that when you tell me things, I see it because I've done so much research and I've had so much experiencing over, you know, 50 odd years, right? Yeah, so Eric is saying she has the same name as me, doing a job I've done before. Yeah, it's sort of freaky until you know what you know, right? You know, I've had a lot of that happening, but when your friends or people that really know you get angry at you because of something somebody else has done, and you're like, there's no way I could have been there. There's actually no way I could have been there. Yeah, anyway, so it's interesting. But I used to think, because I'm a skeptic, because my dad's a mirror image twin, and I have a cousin that I've never met that's roughly, you know, similar age, not the same age, but similar age. So it's possible that they're seeing her. I've tried to find her, but you know, anyway, it's one of those, you know, divorce stories that didn't go well, sort of thing. So never got to meet her. So if you're out there, I do know her name, but you know, okay. So let's pull the pieces together. Bridging realities, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. When weird and wonderful things are happening, how do you make them acceptable? So all the stories I just told you are what help make it acceptable in some way, right? Do you understand what I mean by that? Pardon me. It's let me just check these other chats too. Pardon me. So going back to a recent conversation of shifting states of consciousness, and I'll bring this in because this is sort of, you know, we'll ground it a little bit. When you do, so if you're in Relevate or you're doing the work with me to touch into the core of you know, a relational wound or injury, developmental stuff, you know, your trauma, your wounding, your wound weaving. Which is what you hit when, or what stops you, what holds you, what prevents you from getting where you want to go, even if you want to go there. Because the fear comes up. You'll get scared, but you won't understand that it's scared until you have a relationship with your fear of love, right? Because we humans pretend we're not scared. This is going to challenge you if that's the case, right? You're going to go, I'm not. I've spoken. My job is to work with human beings, and it has been since I was very young, right? And I'm over the big hump now, right? So I've worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of human beings, all ages. And I can tell you that when you ask somebody about what scares them, or are they stress as well, stress and being scared, and they'll say, oh, I'm not stressed. Really? Okay. Okay, right. I'm not stressed. So if you're hungry, there's a stress in your system. If you're hot, right? I can feel I'm starting to sweat now because I'm out in the heat, right? It's not full on stress, but my body's starting to regulate temperature. Last night, somebody who will remain nameless bangs their sausages on the cabinet to break them apart. Someone else who will remain nameless jumps through the roof. Like when there's a big bang behind you, like, interesting, because I felt it. All right, it was me. I felt it. I felt it. And actually, there's a few things that I think will be helpful for you. I tell you so that you can see yourself in me, or see aspects of yourself in me, because we are aspects of self, right? When my system becomes hypersensitive, that means there's stress, more stress than usual. But I may not feel it any other way than yesterday. I felt it in my feet. Don't judge, but I do not like shoes, so I don't wear shoes a lot. So, right. And I could feel when I was having a shower, I was uncomfortable. It's almost on a spectrum thing, right? That when my system's stressed, I'm hypersensitive. So, that could be good in the sort of work that I do. But if you're unconscious about that, it's projected. It's vomited or cloaked over people. So you go around triggering unconsciously. So I named it. I went, that's interesting. The shower. Now, it felt from the soap, right? It felt, you can just feel it. When you're hypersensitive, if you are, right? It's like when you get, stuff on your hands and it sort of just doesn't feel right. You gotta go wash your hands. Now, some of you don't have that. Some of you will. Some of you have it all the time. I have stuff like that when my body is stressed, but not stressed enough by stuff. It's just how the fears are met. Okay. So I get out of the shower, get dressed, and go to make dinner. And I walk across the bedroom floor to the kitchen, and I was like, some of you get me. I know some of you get me. The floor was annoying. It's the princess and the pea. My family's always called me princess and the pea, because if there's one little thing on with the bed or the pillow, it will hurt me. I'm so sensitive, right? But when I'm pushing the boundaries, I'm even more sensitive. Now, that's why I do the job that I do, because when you speak to me, I feel you. I feel what's going on for you. I hear behind your words. I see what you're speaking about, and I see beyond what you're speaking about. Like, I'm hypersensitive. It's why I do what I do. It's how I am. It's not a problem if I name it and meet it with kindness, with love, with some acceptance of, oh, because there was no other indicator visible for me or the people around. Do you see what I'm saying? Nothing really. Like, if you were trained to see micro movements and whatnot, yeah, you might pick it up. So by me naming, oh, my feet, because I've never been sensitive through my feet like that ever, that I'm aware of. Get what I mean? Not. So it was the consciousness of what's happening to that degree, that something had shifted in my system that was now giving me extra data, extra information that if you're already full could tip you over, right? The straw that breaks the camel's back. So when you go in to make your dinner and you're hypersensitive and your husband or partner or children make a loud bang and you go through the roof, what would most people do? You think about that yourself. What would you do? What I would have done in the past is turn around and go make a disgruntled noise or say, what are you doing? Or like project. I'm not saying it's harmful to the other person, but I'm saying the fear that, the charge that rises from that, it's like the cat, you know, Pepe Le Pew. The cat goes onto the ceiling, right? That was the sensation in my body. But because I practiced meeting fear, I felt it and I went, oh, and looked around, and in my head, I was doing that sausage thing again. Right? Now, so there was no projection. I mean, maybe a little of, I'm doing that. Could you just use a knife? Like, but I didn't project. My point being, do you get the point? It's not about me. It's not about what happened. It's about meeting fear and how these everyday little things come in to show us how we are, and we neglect them. We push them away. So I acknowledged it in the shower. It's like I felt it. It's a felt sense. It feels like almost like Eric says, when it's humid, it's like the island is hugging him. It's a very poetic way of saying that, right? Because the humidity's been like 73%, 70, like it's like, right? It doesn't bother me anymore. But in the past, being a fire element, and we'll talk about that another day, but it is part of how I'm going to share and work with you in the future. Fire element does not do well in humidity. It's hard for us to breathe, right? In dry heat, we thrive. In wet heat, because we're fire. Wet heat dampens fire. Do you understand? So knowing that, I'm like, I'm never going to live in a place with high humidity. I used to say to my eldest daughter, she lives in Queensland, it's high humidity there, and I visit, but I'm like, can't breathe. And you know, the frizzy hair stuff, all that. Now doesn't impact me. I'm not the one that says, oh, what's the humidity? It's people around me, and I'm like, yeah, it's warm. All right, you can see the sweat on my, but I'm not complaining about it. But in the past, I would have, because my body is screaming in fear, all the different stressors, right? It feels sticky. You know, do any of you get that? If you do, it's probably fire element. We can test that. It doesn't matter. But knowing that there's nothing wrong with you, it's the element and the way that your systems, your energetics and your systems work in certain environments helps you accept it a little more. So I'm just giving you ways of understanding when we're talking about fear of fear, ways of seeing them in our everyday general behavior. So what was particularly different yesterday that may have created extra stress? I launched a series while doing a full 3-day training starting at 5 a.m. Right? Like, you know, doing trauma work, right? And what else? My daughter was in a show that I couldn't be there to support her. So as a mum, I had mum guilt. She won the two. I don't know if you saw my face on my thing, but she did silk. Do you know what silks are? It's like big bit of silk hanging from the ceiling, and they climb up and swing around and do all sorts of stuff, but it's a whole routine. Anyway, she does the wardrobe, you know, she sews her own costumes and every little bead and all of that, does her makeup and hair, like designs and choreograph, all that. And it was her first silk performance in was the amateur. It's called Bend the Air, and she won. So, you know, it was 2 o'clock in the morning for me, but in the past I've still shown up online, but because I had this training and the launch and all these other things, I was like, I need to sleep. So I'll look. And I knew I made that choice. But as a mum, I had mum guilt because she's over in another country. I don't get to see her. I still want to support her, right? So she's okay, but it was my fear, right? So these extra little things, I'm not telling you because it's about me. I'm trying to model things that, so maybe you don't have a daughter in the circus, right? But she's not really in the circus. She's an aerialist. She also did her second one on the lyra, which is the big hoops, and she got first place for that as well, right? And I wasn't there, and I didn't see it, so I had to sit. Do you know what I mean? So there was all that mum guilt and missing my girls, missing my family. I still can't get home. I had a dream this morning that I was lost and trying to get home, right? There's all this, you know, home stuff for me, right? Because there's stuff going on, and I right now have to stay here. That's a choice. So extra stress. When you have extra stress, I guess the moral of the story is do not attack. Do not attack yourself. Some of you may not have this. These are adaptive strategies. These are your protectors. These are the ways of knowing that your little map maker, your inner children, there's not one, there's every, remember, we started off multiple realities. This is going to sound so insane, but I don't know if you've ever been, well, not all therapy talks about parts of the self, different ages, different stages of development that have their own individual being, right? That's attached to you or within you, however you want to see it, right? There's a consciousness there. And those individual little beings, your 3-year-old, your 1-year-old, your 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or, you know, every age, their wants and needs, how they were met, whether there was what we call relational injury or that developmental wound at a particular age. That wound, that injury carries on through every age and projects out, cries for help, wants something, needs something, and will play out when you get stressed, when you get challenged, Notice with other people without judging them, but notice when, if you can see that everything everyone's doing has a level of fear of love. So if we talk about the triangle of the earth experience, and the bottom of the triangle is like that real murky, heavier density of which we carry at the hips in the human. The bottom of the triangle is at the hips, lower density consciousness, or our fears of fear. The extreme polarity. And at the other end is our fear of love, the most expansiveness that we can be. And if you don't think that as that expansiveness, there's part of you that doesn't freak out and go, am I going to survive this? You're kidding yourselves. Or has these immense bliss-gasms, I call them, right? You're bliss, you're in ananda, you're meditating, and you go so beyond what you thought possible, and you're in ananda, like bliss. And you come back, you get on in your normal everyday life, and some of you, have shared with me, and I know for myself, the doubt comes in. Doubt takes you out of the alignment. So that's a type of fear. You get scared of your greatness. You get scared of your annihilation. You get scared, annihilation in that we are going from our individuation, right, which we work for, into merging into all there is. You'll see it when you go into relationships too. The differentiation. What's that differentiation? How you navigate differentiation. And I have a whole teaching on that. Actually, I think we'll do it in Relevate. I'll touch on it on Friday. Not the whole thing, so it's a big teaching, but over time I'm touching it, because it's really good for relationships when you're in a relationship, how to navigate being all of it and still differentiated from your partner, right? It's this again. It's the triangles. So that bridge that we started talking about, right? The bridging of the two worlds. Now you've got another reference. It's the bridging of the two worlds within yourself. It's the bridging of the worlds of heaven and earth, of fear and love. Right? How you bridge those worlds, and one not being better than the other. You need both. Without those poles, the two ends, how do you meet? It's like having those two poles. That's the human experience. And to go, I'm going to end on this and switch over. To go further and more expansive and be able to experience beyond your wildest dreams, literally, the more anchored you are and the more that you integrated those parts of self, right? This is the work that we're doing. The more that you do that, you have that infrastructure, the earth infrastructure within you energetically, to be able to navigate the heavens, or love, whatever you want to call that, right? Higher consciousnesses. There will still be the fear, because that's the fear of, oh, at what point? And I a lot of the calls I get are around this, which is beautiful. It's around this piece. That they know that they're, you know, they're starting to open up. They're getting a lot of information. They're going through a stage of development. You may call it awakening. And they know, they can feel, and some of you I know have experienced this, that there's the next piece, the next horizon, that event horizon. You know, it's like that stillness before the next big thing, right? They're in that. And there's fear because they don't know that next step. It's that uncertainty. It's that not knowing, right? So the event horizon, Google it if you want, is a term used in science, you know, in regards to the Big Bang and the pulling into nothingness. Okay? So there's this point just before that. And people tend to find me when they're somewhere around there. It's usually at the heart. When they start to open at the heart, like it's where they're starting to go into the top triangle, that's when people tend to find me, right? To navigate those higher realms. But the fear that's involved can prevent them from moving forward, right? So that's why I'm bringing in, talking about our fears and what scares us, so that we can learn how to navigate and build a new relationship with fear, to be able to be more than you've ever dreamt in any reality. You know, the dreamer dreaming the dream of being dreamed. You know, it's multiple versions. So I guess the point today is that you all have fears. Some of them are unconscious. You're not aware of them. And you most likely won't be aware of them until they become such an issue that you have to, or you're forced to in some way, meaning, you know, it's impacting your work or your job, your relationships, your health, your finances, you know, all of these life issues, right? It's like being an addict. If you have enough money and enough support around you, you know, I remember telling, I think it was one of you, about, you know, I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but, you know, there's a lot of addicts out there that you wouldn't even know are addicts because they have support around them and they have the money to, right? Becomes a problem when it starts to impact other areas of your life. Industrious, over-focused people, right, get a lot of stuff done. That sort of protector doesn't become an issue until later in life. Why? Because people in our society, Western society, see working hard and doing, like being a workaholic basically, as a good thing. I know a lot of people that are like that, and they're multiple millionaires. So there's not a problem until there is. And there will, there comes a time when they'll look around and the other aspects of their life have gone by, or they wanted children and they forgot about having children. So, things like that, right? So that's just one of them. There's many different strategies and ways of knowing. And so as we go forward, these are the things, particularly in Relevate, we'll be talking about. And if you work with me one-to-one, we'll be really looking at how your energetics, the love and fear of your energetics, so the challenges and the expansiveness and the challenge, so the love and fear of your particular blueprint, how that relates to these psychological adaptive strategies and movements. We call them the 5 movements, and where you get stuck in those. So those of you that are in that Relevate, you'll understand bits of this. Those where the barriers come in. Remember, we talked about barriers, and in that cycle there's different barriers, and why the barriers are there are specific to what I've just been talking about, and they're different for everybody based on what their core strategies or protectors are, how they have survived in the world. Now, they're not a bad thing. They're not a bad thing. They save you, they keep you safe until they become the straitjacket, until they become the boots that you're still trying to get your foot in at 50 that you wore at 5. They don't fit. They don't fit anymore. Or if they do, right, you have these beautiful, I was thinking, I was writing something the other day, I was writing about, this vintage Armani suit, right? Or, couture, right? Your high fashion suit from back in the day that doesn't fit you, but you can't bring yourself to donate it, right? I'm always thinking of stories so that when I'm writing, you get what I'm talking about. It's like, and some people are into fashion. I obviously am not. Wearing an oversized t-shirt dress, but we see where our value is. Some people value that. My point being, I love shoes. I just don't like wearing them. So I have a lot of boots. I love boots, all sorts of boots, all different colors, all different. And when I was moving, donating boots that, my youngest daughter took some of them, which made my heart happy because, they went to a good home. And I'm sure donating them, they're going to go to a good home. But, there's something, right? Think about that. It's shoes, it's boots, it's clothing. Your barriers are your baggage. We all got baggage. We all got stuff. We all got boots and clothes in our bags, right? You're going to donate it. We don't want to, because we feel like that's what's keeping us safe and so snuggly and warm. But it's snuggly and warm because it's squashing. Those snow boots in Hawaii are not, although in Mauna Kea it snows, so there you go. But you get my, but one day I might go to the snow. I'll keep them. They're 3 sizes too small. Even if you lose weight, they're not going to fit you. And you're holding on. So anyway, so we went a few places today. I don't know if the whole jigsaw puzzle's put together, but it's really just to get you thinking about the potentiality of your human, what we are capable of, what you are capable of, and how when you work with the earth aspects, you are more structurally sound to be able to launch into the heavens. And then as you launch into the heavens in your very sound spacecraft, aka your body, you will then again start to get to the barriers of a particular galaxy. Meaning your growth edge. And then what happens? What happens when you reach your growth edge? I'm listening. More fear comes up. But so when we say fear of life, so fears come up because you're going to where you want to go, right? It's like the black hole and the white hole, the heaven and the earth, right? The different poles. You go far enough, they meet. So ultimately, it's we're talking about having ways to understand and work and build a relationship with fear itself. Everything else that we've been talking about are the extrapolations of that core. Everything we do can relate. Everything we say, everything we do relates to how we're going to survive in the world or how we're not going to survive in the world, right? How we're going to contract or expand. It's not good or bad. Do you get that? I'm going to say it every day. Because if you get that, then everything that happens, you're like, okay. You can meet it and be conscious of it. Yes, it may be uncomfortable. Yes, it may hurt. Who has sensitive ears? Do you know that Eric was watching my discussion with Jennifer Hoff last night? He was watching a bit of it, and I came in. He was on the iPad, and my sound is so loud, right? Because if somebody else's sound, so if I'm talking to you and your sound's low, and mine's high, it goes high and low. I was like, so this is that part of me that goes, oh, if I could, I'd be in there editing that to make the sounds the same. So when you're listening, it's not going like this, right? Usually I do that. But for whatever reason, I didn't hear it on what, on the editing. But when he was watching it, I was like, wow, that's really loud. But just remember, I was hypersensitive too, right? Meaning that, all my sensory system picks up more than the average person. I can hear across realms. I can, so someone talking to me here is deafening, right? Some of you have that. Actually, the people that I can see, you all have an aspect of that. Yeah. All right. So now you wish you could bilocate. You can bilocate. I used to say, I used to joke, but it was true. Because it's just that people didn't understand that it was true. And so I have to be in two places at once. How am I going to do that? And then I have to be in 3 places at once. And people would be like, how are you going to do all of that? And I always did it. I always managed it. Or how am I going to cover these 3 different things or even 4 different things on the same day, right? And I do it. So that's Actually, Jennifer Hoff and I talked about that last time I spoke to her about, oh, was it no, it was Maureen. She's next week, but last time I spoke to her, you might remember, we talked about time and how to conduct time. But all right, so we're going to wrap up the live. But if you haven't signed up for the series, spiritwhisperer.online, so you can go to whatever you're watching from and scroll right down the bottom. And all right, someone's I can laugh. I've just gone to the I don't know what platform that, I think it's Facebook. It might be my Conscious Evolution page, but there's ads. Someone's putting ads in there for, like, I think it's like photos and their WhatsApp number. Anyway, over and over again. Oh, good luck to them. All right, there you go. There's a fear of not surviving if you've got to put your ads on somebody else's page over and over again. Video call. Yeah. Anyway, so you might want to, whatever. Go and get Kajal Sharma's photos and live calls. No, go to spiritwhisperer.online. We're going into day 2 today, but there's replays, so you can see yesterday's today. Some people are saying they haven't. I spent a lot of hours last night working out people that are saying they weren't getting videos. When I go and look you up, I can see what videos what emails you've got and whether you've opened them or not. You're getting them and they're not being opened. And so I'm not going to continue to do that because I can't micromanage everything. If you've signed up and you've checked all your spam, your junk mail, if you're on Gmail, go into the 3 different areas that it puts your emails. If you still can't find it from me, Cynthia J. Harrison, like go into your thing and search, right, for the email from Cynthia J. Harrison. If you haven't got it and you've done your homework, then contact me, right? There was one person that stumped me, but I couldn't find them in the system. So they may have signed up with an incorrect email. And if that's the case, sign up again. I can't manually put you into this automation. In the past I could, this one I can't. So if there's any other problems after all of that, email me or message me. But obviously if you're saying, I can't see it, I can't see it, I can't see it, and I go on and there's 3 emails I've sent you and you haven't opened them, I don't know what else to do. I can't go around your house and help you look for them. So I know that there are problems occasionally. And, you know, spam, junk mail, all of these types of emails generally go to your junk, right? So some emails say spam, some say junk, but Google, put in my name, look for it. Those of you that have got VIP, I'll be sending something out shortly about that and giving you your links for August. So don't worry about that. and you'll get the replays and the bonuses. So any other problems, feel free to contact me. I do get all sorts of emails, right? But I'm just saying for the ones that are having a problem, do that first, and then if you still can't find it, contact me. Because sometimes there's little glitches or gremlins, or it is the wrong email, or whatever. So anything else? Any other questions or comments before we go? I don't know why I bother making tea. There's always goes cold. Nope. Is there I went all over, and did I pull everything together for you? Do you understand how the heaven and earth relates to fear of biolocating or being in multiple, consciousnesses? How when you do the work of, really anchoring into what your experiences have been here, that it really gives you that solid foundation to do the cosmic, exploration. And that's what I was told, and that's why I brought this work back, right? We went really earth for a while, and now we're starting to bring back in the heaven, because my work is to reveal or bring heaven to earth. So what are the containers? What's our vessel for that? How solid is it? Are we going to be knocked off our alignment via our fears? Because the fears are going to be there. They have to be there. And you'll hear me in the series over and over again, bringing it back, bringing it back, bringing it back, because people are wanting to go, shh, shh, yep, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Tell your story, yeah, then bring it back to that solid foundation. Because really, for me, madness is purely not having the anchor. When your systems are solid and strong, as in, your energetic systems have been worked out at the energetic gym, then when stuff happens, you don't get completely thrown off. You get to navigate that and experience it. And if it's completely, out there, come and talk about it. Come and ask me questions. So we're gonna switch over so I can go into something else I want to talk about, which links to what I was just about to go into, around people having new experiences that can be really physiologically uncomfortable. But when you understand what's happening, you can meet that. So those of you on the inner circle, you can go and have a little break if you need to. And I'll just switch over. All right. So until we meet again, jump on spiritwhisperer.online, spiritwhisperer.online, and you'll see the page to come on to our free series. So every day there's one speaker, or there is one day that we have two speakers because they were shorter interviews. And then at the end of, so it's over 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 weeks, then we'll be doing a workshop. So if you're signed up, you won't miss that. You'll get an invite where we'll be doing experiential work. We'll be bringing in all of what you've learned and practicing it, learning how your systems and blueprints work and stuff like that. So, all right. I don't know if you're still there, Erica, and those on Insta. I'll see you maybe Thursday. And ciao there. Ciao. And those of you on other systems, let me just get out of that. I'll see you Thursday at 2 p.m. Hawaiian Standard Time. Okay. Until then, much love. May the blessings